Back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. We're on the Plus, and we are streaming live at newschannel5.com on Facebook.
That's great.
So you can comment to us there. And Ben Hall's with us with the I-Team here with a story out of White County, and we've got several folks that want to comment on it. So let's go to Livingston. Hi, Livingston. Are you there, Livingston? Sometimes you come back from a break and you catch them by surprise. Are you there, Livingston? All right. Well, that's about it. Let's go to Christy. Hi, Christy.
Hello.
Hey, go ahead.
Hey, this is my hometown you're speaking of.
Yeah.
I'm from Sparta.
Okay.
And I want to comment about the lady that called earlier and said about the police. I grew up here, and my parents told me, and I told my son when he was being raised, you don't mess with the police around here. You leave the police alone unless you need them.
Well, that's a good rule of thumb in general. You want to obey police, respect police, and not mess with police. But what are you saying, that you've always worried that they might do something they shouldn't do?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Okay.
you know, it's a small town. Things go on around here that, you know, shouldn't. But more to the fact, more to what we're talking about. You remember that this is the man who has been sued multiple times. Multiple times. This is the guy who went into a lady's house while she was sleeping, looking for somebody he had a warrant on without having a warrant himself.
Let me ask you this real quick, because Ben did a story on that. So, okay, this sheriff is elected, right? And how long has he been sheriff there?
You know, I'm not sure. I think he's done 2 terms.
I believe it's 2
I don't think
terms.
he's not running again, as far as I know.
Okay, because I'm just wondering, you know, you guys are electing this guy, you know? Who's voting for him?
I don't think he's being elected. I don't think anybody's running against him.
All right, I want to hear from some White County people that voted for Sheriff Shoup, but it is true that he has had some issues in the past. The case she's referring to, you're familiar with.
Right, we did a story on that.
Yeah.
So this was a case where he had an arrest warrant for, it was actually his nephew.
Okay.
His nephew had, in the months before, lived at a certain address. Now, he moved out of that address. And so he went in, not with a search warrant. Again, if you want to go into someone's home, you're supposed to go to a judge and get a search warrant and say, we believe so-and-so is at this address. We would like, you know, permission to enter. He didn't. He had an arrest warrant. He ran into this woman's house. She was asleep. He pointed a gun. They had guns pulled. They take her aside and they search her house, all without a warrant. And he was adamant. What was interesting, he talked to me in that case. He was adamant that he did the right thing. That if I have an arrest warrant, then I have every right to go into a home if I have any reason to believe the person is inside. We interviewed 2 different scholars who said that's just not true. The Supreme Court has ruled that that's not true. If you believe someone is in a house, you need to go get a search warrant, unless they're very limited situations where that wouldn't be the case. So he has a misunderstanding sometimes of what he is allowed to do, but he's unapologetic. Why does he get elected? He's very charismatic. He's got a big personality, and I think that he has plenty of support down there. He's unabashedly fights for his officers, doesn't want his officers hurt in any way.
Doesn't want his cars dented.
Doesn't want his cars apparently damaged. But there are other cases where he has gone into homes and people have been killed, and lawsuits have come up as a result of that. There's several lawsuits there during his tenure.
I don't know that there's a fair comparison here, but this kind of makes me think of the former sheriff of Maricopa County, Arizona. What am I spacing on it?
Arapaho.
Yeah, Sheriff
Arapaho or whatever. Yeah.
It sounds like him. He just wants to be a maverick.
He's a maverick.
Joe Arpaio.
Yes, that's it.
Joe Arpaio. I mean, I don't know that he's like that, but it just sounds like he wants to be a maverick, because it wasn't White County also the one where the judge was giving inmates an option of a vasectomy to get 30 days off their jail sentence, and the sheriff was, I guess,
the sheriff was part of that. Yeah.
And I can see how someone on the outside looking and says, oh, that's funny, that's cool, yeah, because then they're not breeding, and then we can let them out and shut that. But there's constitutional issues here. It brings lawsuits that taxpayers are going to pay for, and of course that was clearly found to be unconstitutional.
Absolutely. And now we actually did something on that last night on Open Line. There's a bill in the legislature that would totally make that not an option but it was proposed in that county. The sheriff was part of that. Again, you get a vasectomy, you get sterilized, you get 30 days off your sentence. That was part of what they were pushing.
Yeah, there you go.
And I know there were people that signed up.
And I know that people did it, and I know there's a segment of the population that thinks that's great. You know, so I don't know. You're right. I'm sure he's got his support. Let's go to
well, they're out there between Knoxville and Nashville. There's not a lot of oversight.
Yeah.
You know, when do we go out there? It's only in
You're right.
the most extreme cases. You've got local media out there that there's not the oversight that you would have in a Nashville. There's not the media, there's not all of the other stuff. They're out there on their own.
Yeah, it's like you said, can you imagine had this happened in Nashville?
Right.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's go to Daniel. Hi, Daniel.
Hello.
Hi, Dan, go ahead.
Well, I'm actually from White County myself.
Okay.
I've watched the videos, and I don't think that was right to shoot the guy. And I think the county needs to look at, other things that's happened in this county regarding, killings, missing people, and everything else like that. But, the video, what he done and what he told his officers to do, they wasn't no right to do that.
Yeah, I'm with you, sir. I hear what you're saying. And again, neither Ben or I are here trying to make excuses for the individual who refused to pull over for the cops.
Right.
He was wrong. And had they caught him and he was still alive, he should have the book thrown at him for what he did and did put people at risk, leading them on that slow speed chase, but that was still dangerous. The pit maneuver the cop tried to do is dangerous. So I'm not trying to make excuses for this guy. He was wrong. But the way it played out, goodness gracious. I mean,
Yeah, it's truly disturbing.
Yeah.
And the comments after kind of reveal the mindset of the sheriff, which is most concerning. And maybe that's what people in White County should take away here.
Yeah.
Instead of being remorseful in any way, he's thriving on it.
Yes. Right.
And
after
that's the biggest maybe concern here.
No, I think that's right. Hearing those comments change a lot of things. And also, prior to when he said that line after the man was dead, that you didn't hear any indication at all that they considered, are there any other options that we could maybe end this peacefully, like back off and just follow him till he stops. He's going to stop. This guy's not a serial killer. We're going to get him, okay? Or do the pit maneuver and take him down. But there was no other option. That was just, I don't care what you do. Take him out, any force necessary. Wow, that's quite an order. I mean, you don't hear that very often.
No, you don't.
I mean, yes, force if you're in danger, but come on. Frederick. Hi, Frederick.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, in the first place, when they determined that he hadn't shoplifted, he only, they determined that he was driving on a expired license, they should have just given him a ticket and a court date and let him go. And then when he came to court, if he still didn't have a valid driver's license, you lock him up. If he has one, then the case should have been dismissed. And that's all. That's as far as should have gone in the first place.
I hear what he's saying, but I think we need to do the timeline, right? They thought he shoplifted. They realized he didn't have the license, and then they left. And then he got in the car anyway to drive away. And then that's when they tried to stop him. So they never got a chance to stop him, until the end there to give him a citation.
Right. Apparently, so it's very important, the time frame. He drove into Walmart with that trailer and that old truck.
Okay.
Walks around. For some reason, Walmart thinks he's shoplifted. They call the police. The police come and they say he didn't shoplift, but in looking at his information, they see that he has a suspended license. I guess because he wasn't driving at the time. He clearly driven there, but he wasn't
they
driving.
Have to see it. Right.
They just said, "Sir, you can't drive."
Call someone to come get you or something. Yeah.
He waited for a time and then drove, and then they waited for him and they followed him, and that's when this all began.
Okay, so it never got to the point. Had they stopped him, had he not been shot the way it played out, I assume they would have taken him into custody from fleeing from police. They would have written him a citation for driving without a license, and he would have had to deal with those issues.
If he had an outstanding warrant, they would have taken him in. I mean,
he didn't even have an outstanding warrant.
He must not have. I mean, he was fully vetted by police. The only thing they could find on him was a suspended license. And so that's what's really tragic about this,
Yeah. Why do you think he didn't stop, Ben? His widow
wife
says that he was afraid?
He was afraid. He was probably angry, but boy, it's too bad he didn't stop.
Yeah. Let's go to Richard. Hi, Richard.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nashville. I originally came to Nashville about 25 years ago as domestic. Hello, you there?
Yeah, go ahead.
I originally came to Nashville about 25 years ago as domestic refugee. I came from a place that was so tyrannical and dominated by the police that I just had to get out of there. I came here on my way to South America. I discovered here that in Nashville, most residents aren't aware that these police here have higher standards. These guys, if they tell a lie or something, they're fired. These guys are exceptions to the country. This particular story was picked up by the Free Thought Project, and this is just mild compared to so many of the atrocities and stories that these police are doing nationwide. They can't get away with it here, but you get outside of Nashville, you see other states, entire cities are just terrorized.
You said something. I mean, I think you made a great point earlier, is again the oversight and Metro and some of the big cities, but these, like you said, this town is right between Knoxville and Nashville. Right. There's not a lot of supervision, and I hate to say it, I've been in some small counties where I've been amazed at the professionalism and the goodness. I've been in some other small counties, and I'm not saying necessarily in White County, where you've got Barney Fife, okay, or you have folks out there that shouldn't have a holster and a badge, and they're looking to shoot someone. I've seen that. I mean, I've seen places like that where I walk out there going, that guy shouldn't be in law enforcement, but he is. He's been elected or whatever. I don't know what the case here is in White County. This doesn't look good, but right, it's oversight.
Who doesn't benefit from oversight? You know, you and I, we benefit from someone saying, okay, are you sure about this? I think when you have a lot of authority, a lot of power, and you don't have a lot of oversight, bad things can happen. Here in Nashville, the police are questioned constantly, not just by us, but by all kinds of media groups and city officials and that kind of thing. In smaller counties, there is less oversight, there's less questioning, there's more power, and when you have that, it can lead to bigger problems.
Yeah, and these sheriffs, it's their fiefdom. I mean, they can get power, and people are afraid, and they can do about what they want. No one's going to call them on the carpet.
Right.
Unless things like this come about. And as you said, it has to be something big, and what you have here is big. Let's take a break, and we'll be back. More with Ben Hall, more with your calls and questions on the White County situation after this.